the moment the horrors at the Nazi death camp in Auschwitz were first uncovered 80 years ago has been marked in a solemn ceremony at the site in Poland, in the UK and around the world. On this day in 1945, Soviet troops liberated thousands of emaciated prisoners, some of them barely alive, being held in the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp. More than 1 million people were murdered there. The world would soon learn the full scale of the Holocaust against the Jewish people. The King was among many foreign dignitaries who attended the main ceremony in Poland today, along with 56 Jewish survivors. They warned that hatred and the far right are once again on the rise. From the commemorations, here's our Europe editor, James Mates.
The death gate at Auschwitz-Birkenau, a symbol of the greatest evil in mankind's history, preserved to ensure the memory of it never dies. 80 years after the camp's liberation, it forms the backdrop to a ceremony centred around honouring the 56 survivors still strong enough to be here. They are a dwindling band dressed in the striped camp uniforms in which more than 1 million of their fellow prisoners were sent to their deaths. The leaders here, including the King making the first ever visit to Auschwitz by a British monarch, will not speak but listen, all too aware that this may be the last time we hear eyewitness testimony at a ceremony like this.
I represent the children. There are very few of us are left. From my town, 4 children survived. I thought that we all have to die, that it was normal. If you're a Jewish child, you have to die.
From the moment the camps were liberated, when images like these revealed the depths of evil perpetrated by the Nazis deep in occupied Poland, the world said never again. But today, not far from where these pictures were taken, a major war is killing hundreds of thousands.
Hi, Marla.
I met Holocaust survivor Marla Tribic inside the barbed wire fences that still surround Auschwitz. Even she's beginning to worry that repeating the evils of this place may no longer be unthinkable.
And what about the rise in anti-Semitism, in Holocaust denial?
Well, that is a source of almost grief for me, because I didn't think that in my lifetime I'll see any anti-Semitism, let alone what I'm seeing. Is just shocking. It's very disturbing, and I'm very worried about it.
So what do you do when the last living survivors are dead? How do you counter Holocaust denial when there's no one left to say, I was here, I survived? That may be the next great challenge for those who want the words never again to mean just that.
I genuinely worry about how will we keep the memory of the Holocaust alive when we don't have those people who were there, who can vouch for what happened and say somehow they survived.
One by one, often with the help of a younger relative, the survivors stepped forward to place their candles in memory of all they have seen, of all those they knew and loved. Some of those memories, even 80 years later, just too painful. Then it was the turn of the heads of state and government. The applause for Ukraine's President Zelensky, testament to the fact that many of these same issues are at stake today. The last few survivors have done their duty to preserve the memory and the lessons of this place. It's a duty they now pass on to the rest of us. James Mates, ITV News, Auschwitz.
The former extermination camp where that service was held is the site of the largest ever recorded massacre of people. 1.3 million were sent to Auschwitz, 232,000 of whom were children. 1.1 million, the vast majority of those who were sent there, were murdered. 1 million of them were Jews. The Nazis evacuated about 100,000 prisoners from the camp to be sent on so-called death marches. Only around 7,000 people were left and were liberated at the closure of the camps, most of them desperately, desperately ill. Well, let's cross to James. James, a very poignant day, incredibly moving, but the like of which we're unlikely really to see again.
Yeah, well, that's what made today so special, because it's probably the last time we'll see the survivors here. I mean, you wouldn't bet against any of these people, but in 10 years' time, at the next big anniversary here in Poland in the middle of winter, it seems unlikely, and that's why today kings and presidents just sat and listened to them. But what happens here when there are no more survivors? Is there a danger that Holocaust Memorial becomes politicized? I mean, already today, for perfectly clear reasons, no Russian officials were invited, despite the role that the Soviets played in liberating this part and driving the Germans out of it. The Poles are absolutely clear that they will continue, having arguably suffered worse than anyone at the hands of the Nazis, to preserve the memories of the Holocaust, the memories of this place, and that they will preserve Auschwitz, that the walls here and the barbed wire will continue to stand as a warning to all future generations of just what mankind is capable of.